Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Play the Tape. I am your host, Derek J. Fields, and today we have a very special guest. All my guests are special. I always say that because it is true. They are. My guest today is my brother. First of all, and I always got to make sure that I get this right because I always forget, but I'm still learning. Full disclaimer: we are not licensed or trained or certified drug and alcohol counselors or clinical therapists or licensed social workers. They and have and will be on Play the Tape. But what Play the Tape is a platform of advocacy support for the community for those who deal with mental illness, substance use, and recovery. That's what we do here. And with those things, that's how we can share our experience, strength, and hope to others and let them know that there is a community out here for us and no one is by themselves. This is a brother and a sisterhood built to help people survive and thrive on their experience, strength, and hope. But like I was saying today, my guest today is a brother of mine. I'm looking forward to interviewing this guest. I'm looking forward to all my guests. Today, my guest is Lucus Livermon, and he is a professional cyclist from Durham, North Carolina. He started riding his bike at the age of 13 years old, and he used it as a way to cope with his mental health. He has struggled with his mental health since being bullied as a kid, and he found his bike as a safe space for him. Today, the bike continues to serve as the safe space, along with providing a platform in which he uses to advocate for the importance of mental health. Now, every year, he uses this passion for cycling to raise awareness about the importance of mental health in the community and raise money for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. My guest, my brother, Lucas Livermon. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Thanks for letting me be here.
Hey, thank you, brother. I appreciate you being here today and, like I said, sharing your experience, strength, and hope um, with the audience. I believe that this is important service work. I'm a believer in service work, and that's what you do. I believe service work is, for me, as a pillar of recovery and how it can get me outside of myself to be of service to others, to give back my experience, strength, and hope that I've learned over the years that's helped me in my mental health and for me, substance use.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
um, the floor is yours. You can start wherever you want in your testimony, in your story. Um, Floor is yours. Absolutely.
So I bio kind of got to most of it. Yeah, I think most of my uh most of my childhood I was like through grade school, high school, all that kind of stuff. I was bullied a lot. I was always the smallest one in class. I was always picked last for sports. So I found myself just in a place where I kind of struggled to find like self-confidence, a place to fit in. Um, and so I kind of always felt myself wanting a place, a safe space, like a place that I felt at home, outside of home. Um, so, and I always wanted to be an athlete. Unfortunately, because I was so small, and I was a skinny little kid that got picked last for everything. It was kind of a struggle. Yeah, and then when I was about 13, I knew how to ride a bike, but I figured out that there was the bike racing was actually a thing, and so there was like a pretty big group of like local junior cyclists in the town I grew up in Greenville, North Carolina. So I convinced my parents to buy me a bike, and I got a bike, and I immediately just found where I wanted to be. I felt
How,
fit on the bike.
how would you even go up to these? Uh, were they your age or were they adults?
Yeah. I mean, there kind of a range.
Okay.
Like there were a lot of kids my age that did it. But there were older kids. So like I said, I was 13, so there were 16, 17, 18-year-olds, and then there were actual adults doing it. And I got to be friends with the people at the local bike shop where I got my first bike, and so I was often friends with people who were quite a bit older than me, and that's kind of the nice thing about the cycling community is it's all kinds of people, all ages, all different walks of life. So you're not really like kind of like pigeonholed into
Mm-hmm.
only being like with one group of people, which is nice. And it's a nice thing about the community is it's in general very welcoming of everyone.
I like that. How at 13, because you said at 13, when did the bullying start? Was that before 13? Because you said,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
before 13. And like now at almost 40, looking back, now I realize, okay, what I was going through back then was anxiety and depression. But this was 30 years ago. This was before, people, uh, you know, people knew what anxiety was or depression was, or at least well before anyone was willing to like talk about it and open up about it.
right.
And especially like label, a kid as having depression issues or anxiety issues. I think back then it just was just like, oh, it was just being a kid, being a crybaby. So
Yeah.
yeah, and so it wasn't until like later on when like it became more apparent. I was like, oh, okay, I've been dealing with this for a long time.
Were you able to talk to your mom and your dad about the things that was going on at school at the time? And was that the only thing that was happening that your mental health was experiencing was the bullying? Everything else was pretty normal as a child?
Yeah, yeah, and I certainly could have talked to my parents about it. Um, they would have been extremely understanding. I had a great childhood growing up. I had very supportive parents. I had a few good friends. Uh, so I had a very good, stable, understanding, loving, family environment. And I certainly could have. I chose not to because I felt embarrassed.
Mm,
And I think that's kind of where the whole part of not talking about it and hiding it and like kind of like stuffing it down got started.
right.
I just That just kind of was how that was my default way of dealing with it.
Hmm.
And then unfortunately, as it got worse and worse, and as I got older and older, that default just stayed in effect. And so yeah, that's years and years down the road, that's eventually what kind of took me in the real bad direction.
Was it so at 13 when you found your community of cyclists? How did you? What made you like? Okay, this is something that I believe could help me at 13 because that's even at 13, even though you didn't know of depression and anxiety, but you felt something was wrong. You felt that what was happening at school, the bullying at school in your community wasn't right. You didn't want the stigma part. We didn't know that it was called
Right.
stigma, but you knew that, like myself, it was for men, it's looked down upon in society and culture to be
Yeah.
like, hey, I feel bad, I feel sad, I feel anxious, I feel hurt.
Right.
What do I do? No, you don't. You mow through it. You push it down. You're a guy. You don't show your emotion. That's weak. It's not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Could not agree more. Absolutely.
But I'm curious, Lucas. At 13, the wherewithal that you had intrigues me to because you had to be aware of what you were feeling to be like, okay, I need to do something better for me, and I'm gonna go check out this group of cyclists over here and see what that's about. How did that spark start? I guess is what I'm trying
I,
to figure out and to ask.
I don't really know, and I don't really know that I knew what I was doing. Honestly, like I knew that I was embarrassed and felt you know bad and sad and all that kind of stuff because of what was happening. But I don't know that I was consciously making an effort to. I don't know that I put two and two together. Like I'm not sure that I realized that. Oh, okay, cycling has now become my coping mechanism.
Mm,
I just think I enjoyed it, and so I wanted to keep doing it because when I was on my bike, I wasn't experiencing the bully. When I was on my bike, I felt confident versus when I wasn't.
right.
And so I think it just at that point with the very little understanding and uh, you know understanding of self that any 13-year-old has is pretty limited. But I think, yeah, I think it just made me happy. And so I just was like, I'm going to do this. And because it was a sport and I'd always wanted to be an
Mm,
athlete and get into sports. Like my whole life, I had this like dream of being a professional athlete. I wanted to be a professional athlete. And so when I found cycling and then I was decent enough at it that like, I could keep doing it. I was like, oh, okay, I want to do this. And
I
so then
like
I just kind of ran with it.
I like that. Even it's just amazing to me that how life works. Um, how for me, I believe in a higher power, and I choose to call that higher power God. I just believe that that direction of man. Okay, I'm not. This is something that could bring me joy, and also, man, I want to be an athlete.
Yeah.
I can do this, and as it's bringing me joy, as it's helping me cope, I'm good at it and I'm getting better. How did you bring that to your mom and dad's attention at 13? Like, hey, there's this group of this community of diverse men and women and boys and girls that I want to be a part of. Buy me a bike.
I think his Winston was like, hey, like all the cool kids are like riding bikes. I want to do that. And so yeah, they were a little hesitant to spend, $400 on a new bike for me at 13 years old. Little did they know $400 would be a drop in the bucket compared to what we were all getting ourselves into. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, like I said, I had very supportive parents. Even grandpa. So my grandpa was a cyclist, and so he's
Mm,
kind of I kind of got he helped. I had the idea that I wanted to ride, but like I had his influence a little bit too. And so that was kind of what was like, oh, okay, I'll do this. And so, like I said, I had a great, from the outside looking in, I had a great childhood, and I did, even on the inside, I did. It was just that, kids can be cruel.
cruel.
So
Yeah, jinx.
yeah, I fit the mold of an easy target. And so that's, yeah.
As you started to enter your that's 13, 14, 15. Now you started to enter high school. Um, how did cycling help you to make that transition? Because you talked about how it gave you confidence. You talked about how it made you happy, how it brought you joy, how you started to get good at it. So as you started to transition into from out of course, elementary and junior high, now we're about to hit freshman and high school years. How did cycling help Lucas then
I
moving
think
forward?
I think it I think the way that it helped me the most is it helped me just feel confident with being more who I was instead of trying to be what everyone else was.
What was that? What did it make you? How did it teach you to be who you were, and accept that with the confidence and the joy that you had to have?
Uh Man, that's a hard question to answer. Jeez. The I think it like I was always trying to fit in with the skater kids or the jocks or whatever. Like I because I didn't really feel like I had a place. I was always trying to like fit the mold of like someone else, like
Mm-hmm.
live the life or the persona or whatever that they had instead of just like being me. And if people didn't like me or they did like me, whatever, just accepting it. Um, and so I think cycling helped me just be more okay with just who I was instead of trying to be like this kid or that group or that group. Um, and it didn't fix it like by any means. Like it wasn't until I was in my early 30s that I really like finally like was like, you know what, I'm not gonna try to be anything other than who I am. Like, and if if this isn't what other people like, then that's fine. Like, I'm sure there's somebody that does. So like,
Right.
but like, so like things like I didn't wear the clothes I wanted to wear. I didn't, I didn't have the haircuts that I wanted to have, like stupid kid stuff, but like the kinds of things that every kid does
Yeah.
from age. Like, you want to wear like the cool shorts that guy has, or the cool shoes that
Or the
the
cool hat. You know what I
right.
mean? Right. Yeah.
Like I would pass up on opportunities to do things that I actually wanted to do or wear or be or go, music to listen to or movies to go see or whatever, because I knew that wasn't what the in crowd was doing.
I could relate to that. I was a chameleon. I could blend in very well. And you know what my thing was? It was humor. That
Uh,
was my thing. Laughter was I if it's okay, could I equate laughter to your cycling as my safe space? I
yeah,
grew up in a time where I love television. I was a TV kid, and I loved watching The Fresh Prince. I love watching Martin. I like watching Raymond. I love Lucy. My parents, my grandparents, the Golden Girls. I loved Carol Burnett. I was a fan of comedy and making people laugh, and I knew I had that gift at an early age. To, I am smart. Do come from a good home. There is some trouble there, but it's still a good
yeah,
environment. But I can blend in if I can make you laugh.
right, yeah,
I can
yeah,
fit I can fit here if I can make you laugh. Because I was like you. I was never really, and I don't want to assume, but I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. Would you say that was close to where you were
yeah,
too?
yeah. I definitely felt like an outsider,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I kind of blame myself. Like I was, like I said, instead of just like being proud and happy about who I was not proud and happy about. Like I was, I was too little. I was too scrawny. Like, I wasn't funny enough. Like, so like all these things. And so, yeah, I definitely didn't, uh, yeah, I did feel uncomfortable because of how I felt. I was, letting myself down.
Yeah, me too. I definitely can relate to that. That's our stories are very similar in that regard. As far as not being comfortable in skin, I could blend in, but I definitely wanted to be in the in crowd. Uh, I definitely wanted to be cool. I didn't know who I was, or I didn't have an identity. As most kids don't, especially early teenagers, as we're going through life trying to figure out who and what we want to be,
Right.
and not letting people down that we care about.
Yeah, and you
Uh,
just made a good point, like saying, like finding an identity. That's exactly what cycling helped me have. Like it gave me an identity, even though I probably already had one. Like I didn't feel like I did. So like finding this thing and being able to like immerse myself in it definitely helped me like find my identity.
as you said something to me, and I heard it, and I agree. I'm 38, and as I started to come into being 30 and getting in my mid 30s and in my late 30s, it took a while to accept Derek. And sometimes I still got to I still have to fight that
Oh
depression
yeah.
off and that anxiety off. As you were cycling and growing through your 20s and your 30s and now getting to the point where you are today, what things did you have to realize about your mental health that you was like, okay, wait a minute, Lucas, I might need to go talk to someone. I might need to reach out to a therapist or a counselor or a support group.
So I literally had to learn, like I had to realize everything. I don't think there was a single thing that I had a good handle on. Yeah, I mean, like I said, so many like there's I dare say 9 out of 10 people you talk to have struggled with mental health in some manner, big, small, like whatever. It's not like it only affects a few people here and there. Um, I do think that like we all have those triggers that kind of like will bring it into the spotlight, so to speak. That's what I had at least. So like when I was 21, the thing that triggered my mental health and that made me realize, oh, like I have there are things happening. I don't know what to do about them, so I'm going to keep ignoring them. But I know things are happening. Um, my girlfriend at the time was hit and killed by a car while we were out riding, right in front of me, and so that was my trigger that sent me into a super bad place, for obvious reasons. Yeah, and so from 21 on, like it was just it was constant depression, constant anxiety, separation anxiety issues, like anything and everything that you could be anxious about, I was anxious about. Um, and so like really the only place that I had any sort of like steadfast consistency with in my life, at least that's how I saw it, was getting on my bike, racing, training, because I could control that. Like I felt very out of control when it came to my mental health and what was happening and how to deal with it. And I still wasn't ready to ask for help. I was still in that mindset of like you said earlier, like, oh, you're a guy, you're not supposed to deal with this stuff. You're supposed to like push through and be tough, like, so to speak, like man up.
Mm-hmm.
And so the only thing that I really felt like I had control over was my bike racing, because I could train, I could race, I could travel. Like I was in control of that, and so I just did that. I ignored everything else because I couldn't control it.
Mm.
Uh, that was a bad thing to do.
Did it when did it become unmanageable for you? Because I know it can become uncontrolling, but did
Yeah.
it get to a point it became unmanageable where that pride that we have as men and as people had to be like, okay.
Yes. It was my late 20s. It really started to become uh, like truly unmanageable.
Mm-hmm.
I had a series of injuries from racing. I had like a bunch of concussions. I'd had like 3 concussions over the course of like 6 months, and that's not a good thing. And so like I was dealing with a brain injury. I couldn't train, so I couldn't be on my bike. I had just moved briefly to Atlanta, and so I didn't know anybody. So I was injured with a brain injury. I was not able to race or ride my bike, and I was isolated from all my everything that friends, family. Like I was just felt completely isolated. Wasn't sleeping. I think I was maybe sleeping like 2 or 3 hours a night for like months and months and months. And yeah, it all like snowballed and built up, and I found myself being involuntarily committed to a mental hospital down in Atlanta for I guess a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and still, like, that was I didn't. The thing that I now realize about situations like that is you can be in those places. I was committed involuntarily. Some people go willingly, which is great, because at least if you're going willingly, like you're at least to some degree acknowledging like there's an issue and I want to fix it. I was still ignoring my issue and didn't want to fix it because it scared me. So I put on the fake face. I put on the face that the people in the hospital wanted to see in order for me to go home.
That is such a good point. Go ahead. I'm gonna
So,
get back to that, but that's such a good point.
so it being there didn't help. I just figured out how to get out. And so I wasn't absorbing anything. I wasn't allowing myself to be there for a reason. I just wanted to leave. And so I
Mm-hmm.
figured out how to leave. So I got out, moved back to North Carolina. And then a few months later, I had another injury. I broke my back in a few places. And so I was again not able to do the things that I wanted. I wasn't able to work and train and race. And that's when I made my suicide attempt. I think that was like 2000. It was either the end of 2012 or 2013. I think 2013. Yeah, it was 2013, so 10 years ago. And yeah, so that did that. And I remember the last thing that I remember as I was losing consciousness and like hitting my living room floor, the last thought I had was like, thank God it worked. And
Mm.
woke up the next morning to my surprise. And that was my low. Like, that was the moment when I realized I either need to finally ask for help and actually like own what needs to happen, or the next time I won't fail.
Did your parents know?
No.
Okay, mine didn't either. Mine
Yeah.
didn't either.
No one. until I started going down this, or until I started with this like mental health awareness journey a few years ago, I don't think really anybody knew. I feel like I'm like this shining example of check on your happy friends because they may not be all
Be
right.
so happy,
Right.
right?
Because from the outside looking in, I was fine. Uh, so yeah.
That is, I'm with you with check on your happy friends because they might not be so happy. I think that is so true. Because I'm with you. I'm one of those. Let me back up. I was one of those people like yourself. I can put on that face
Oh
to
yeah.
get out. I can
Yeah.
put on that face to surround, like, oh, Derek is fine. Lucas is fine. They're okay. They're the people that you call when you need
Right. Yeah.
that you reach out to them because they got you.
Right.
But it had got to the point like yourself who I needed someone, but I also needed to be honest with the people that I needed to get the appropriate help or treatment that I need and to receive it.
Yeah.
Because for a long time, I'm with you. I didn't want to receive it. I didn't want to. I was scared that there was a problem. I was scared that I wasn't as good of a person as I thought I was, and I wasn't. I was hurting on the
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah.
My parents didn't know either, and even when I talk about it to this day, it makes my mother cringe. But I was like, I talk about it because secrets keep us sick.
Right. Yeah. And I think yeah, I think my mom probably feels the same way. Like it kind of makes her like feel like bad, like she didn't do enough or like she did something wrong, like not knowing what was going on. But it's like it wasn't your fault. Like I didn't want you to know. Like it
Right?
wasn't you weren't looking for it. I was hiding it. Like you know.
Yes, it's not your fault. I promise you, it doesn't make it. It doesn't reflect on your parenting at all.
Yeah.
It doesn't like it. And I'm like that too. I tell my mom that, and I tell my dad that too because he's old school military, but he's very. You could tell when something is bothering him or he's carrying a load or a weight on his shoulders. It's like, nah, no, no, no. It it wasn't a reflection of y'all parenting. It please don't take it that way. I
Right.
didn't like. I'm like you. I was hiding it because I didn't want y'all to know because I didn't want y'all to worry. You
Right.
know. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No, I feel you on that one. For sure.
That was a lot of mental. You had to have a lot of mental stability in all the things that you went through in your early 20s and your early 20s and your late 20s into your 30s with all of that and the suicide attempt and you waking up. Where did you wake up in the hospital?
No, I woke up on the floor of my living room. I woke up and that's when I kind of had that realization. It's like, okay, like this is
It's
going to go one of two ways like now. Like I can either fix it or I can like it is going to end. So I called. I had two friends. I was living in Winston Salem at the time in North Carolina.
mhm.
And so I had two friends that I knew or that I felt like weren't going to judge me. And so I called them and told them what had happened. And I was like, I need your help. I need you to come over here right now. And they were knocking on my door in 3 minutes. Um, so yeah, so that was like, that was kind of my aha moment. Like
Mm.
gotta, something's gotta, something's gotta change.
Yeah, something's got to change. This is that flashpoint where, like you said, it's one or two options,
Right.
and I got to make a choice. I got to make a conscious choice
Right.
because most choices are conscious, and we choose not to go get help. We choose to go put on that face. We choose to push it down. We choose to give in to stigma. We choose to give in to shame or guilt. We choose to let that that mental health challenge suppress us, the best parts of us, and that's not good for who we are, what we're trying to do. So when you made that choice at that time after that suicide attempt, where did you go from there? How old were you, and what was your mindset? What was the mission for Lucas after that?
So I was in my late 20s, like 28 or 9. Um, and my next step was uh, just change everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I left Winston Salem, moved to Carborough, so like Chapel Hill, that area. I just kind of started over, and it was helpful to a point, but I don't think but I think like I was ready to start making changes, but I didn't necessarily know the changes I needed to make. So like I just kind of knee-jerk reaction moved. And it was helpful. It got me out of like an environment had that I was associating too much negativity with. So move somewhere where I could not really like reinvent myself, because I knew tons of people there. It wasn't like I was moving somewhere where like suddenly no one knew me and I could just like redefine everything about me. But it gave me it kind of separated me from at least like where the worst part of what had just happened was. So trying to meet new people, like I was more living on my own at that point, so like I was having to spend a lot more time like just like with me.
Mm-hmm.
um and yeah, I don't know, I think the biggest thing is just like being able to like be around different people that helped me realize that the me that I already was enough.
Right.
I needed to stop trying to be something that I wasn't, and embrace who I was, and stop letting the things about my mental health that I felt ashamed of make me feel like that was a defining characteristic of who I was, because it wasn't. Like, and that's kind of when I started to feel less ashamed of my mental health. I wasn't ready to talk about it really, like this. I wasn't ready to do this, but I was ready to start not letting it hold me back, if that makes sense.
It does. Did you ever go to psychiatric unit? Because I know for me, I've been in, because mine is dual diagnosis, or what they call co-occurring, where I have the mental health and the substance use. So I have the mental health with the PTSD and the depression, and then the substance use disorder. So I've been in psych, I've been in detox, I've been in treatment facilities for drug, alcohol, and substances. Was that ever something that you went to? Was a psychiatric unit? Not, I know you went to a treatment program, involuntary, for 14 days in Atlanta, but was there anything else beyond that that you
Not
needed?
like I've always been in and out of like therapy offices,
Mm-hmm.
but it never really helped. And I know like you and I had talked about like before, how like therapy for different people means all sorts of different things. And so I think I got very like I think I got turned off to like trying to like find therapy, because like the traditional ways of going to therapy didn't work. Like
Mm-hmm.
it didn't help me. Um and so it really, like the thing that's honestly helped me the most, like the thing that, aside from my bike, like obviously my bike is
Right.
huge therapy. Like it's, if I'm angry, if I'm sad, if I'm upset about something, if I'm like frustrated, whatever, like I can get on my bike and I can go just like ride myself into the ground. And, I'd say it's like the healthiest way I can think of to hurt myself. It's like,
Yeah.
I can take out emotions and feelings and things when I'm on my bike.
Right.
But I think the thing that's helped him the most, aside from that, is this. So when the pandemic hit and everything was closed, like, sports all around the world like stopped happening. So like bike racing stopped happening, and so I found myself like, okay, well, I've got an unforeseen amount of time of racing. What do I do to keep myself motivated? And so I had the idea of doing like the week-long mental health challenge in May, and I was like, okay, well, this could be like, I'll do this. So figure out, wanted to use it as like a way to raise money, and I'd finally like gotten to a point where I was ready to just like, as I'm just gonna talk about it. I'm gonna tell my story. Like I'm comfortable with talking about it. enough that I feel like I can use it to help. I wouldn't say like all this stuff is super comfortable to talk about. Like it doesn't make me feel great to talk about my suicide attempt, but it's something that I feel is important to share because it helps other. I feel like if it can help other people not have the same stigmas that I used to have in terms of like, oh, it's like you shouldn't talk about this. Like
Mm.
this isn't what you're supposed to do. So started my mental health challenge, and then with the challenge each day when I would like post about like the ride that I did, I would in each Instagram post, I would share a story about like my mental health past, whether it's like past or present, maybe something I'm struggling with like in the moment, something that's happened to me before. Each year I always talk about my suicide attempt, and the response that I got from that was so overwhelmingly positive. And I like, lots of people saying like that they really appreciate it, that this really helped them, that it was nice to like hear somebody talking about it openly and help them not feel so alone, and lots of different stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I want to do this.
Mm. That
And
part.
so that helped that like this. So that's why I say like this is therapy for me. It
I
helps me find a place. It helps me find a place for what has happened to me in the past, so that I feel like what I've gone through wasn't for nothing.
that service part, that part. I love that. And that's what play the tape is. Is
Yeah, and
is
that's
that no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and that's why like I'm so happy to be able to do this. I I guess about a year ago I did a podcast. It's a cycling podcast, but my episode was on mental health and cycling. And so that was one of the first times that I got to like talk in more of a like public forum where like I wasn't in control of everyone that was going to hear this. And I was like, I liked it. Like
Yeah.
it helped, again, like some of the stuff is still hard to talk about, but it helped me find a place for it. It helped me like find a place to put these thoughts and feelings in a positive, productive way, that even if it only helps one person,
One person, yes,
like,
one person.
so my thing is like, you don't have to change the world. You just have to change the world for one person. So if you can help one person's world be better, and then they go on and at some point in their life they can help someone else's world be better, then it's all been worth it.
It's a ripple effect. I love that. I explain. Well, first of all, I want to address. I love what you said about. I had to get comfortable too with my
Yeah.
story because there's a lot of uncomfortability and there's a lot of factors that come along with my testimony that I had to be aware of, and family members are involved because it's part of my story,
Oh yeah.
uh, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just thankful that you got to a point where you know, and it was revealed to you like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is the purpose. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And this is how I can give back. And this is, like you said, I can help that one person because that's what Play the Tape is about. We're all about helping one person. If this just can change the life of one person where they can hear or view and be like, wow, okay, Derek, okay, Lucas, okay, other guests, that gives me hope
Right.
because of your experience. Now I got strength to do something about it.
Yeah, and I think the big we've said it, we've talked about it before. Like the stigma is like that all this stuff makes you weak, but it could not be more opposite. Like being able to get through this stuff, whatever it is, whether it's substance abuse or mental health or suicide attempt, whatever. Being able to get through those things could not be a better example of strength.
Mm-hmm.
I think people don't want to talk about it because it makes them feel weak and lesser than, or that other people are going to see them as that. And my thing is like, I want to help people realize that that is the exact thing that like gives them strength. Like that is strength. That is courage. That is bravery, is being able to acknowledge it and carry on and, carry on.
Endure in spite
Right.
of,
Not
right.
ignore it. Like not like just push through it like without
No, no, no,
doing it.
no. No,
But
what I mean by endure is endure in the sense of not you endure it, it develops you and gives you the strength. As you endure something, you build perseverance. That's what I mean.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and just, being able to use what the hand you've been dealt as a way to see your own strength.
You talked about the mental health challenge and the mental health week and how you cycle. Explain what that is for the listeners and the viewers, so they can get a better idea and understanding of what that means and what do you do.
So, okay, yeah. So I race and train full time. This is how I make my paycheck. Um, and so I'm on my bike, or in the weight, doing weights or whatever. I'm training almost every day. But for this particular week, I take a break from the typical like training racing schedule. And it's always a week in May, since May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it
Hmm.
also is I think it's like national like cycling month. So the two like kind of it's kind of a perfect because for me to do
Yeah.
it. But so it's 7 days. I usually start on a Monday, so it's Monday through Sunday. And I think the first week, or the first year I did it, was 2020, and I rode. The goal was to ride 100 miles every day. So I rode 100 miles every day. It seemed really hard because it was really hard. Uh, and again, I would give, each day I would give like a brief ride report, like how the ride went, like what I did, where I went, that kind of stuff. And then, the more important part of it was I would share a story, and, in some detail, about my own mental health struggles. And so I'd do that each day for 7 days. And it was also, I have also made it a way to raise money for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So
Hmm.
I would set up a GoFundMe, and the GoFundMe is linked directly to them. So like, any donations don't come to me first; they just go right to them. So like each year, I've had a fundraising goal, and then along with it is I always try to make each, like, the next year slightly harder on myself. Um, which is starting to be a problem because it's if I make it harder on myself, I'm not going to be able to do it. Like this year the goal was 132 miles every day for the 7 days, and the 132 represents the daily average of people who die by suicide in this country. Um, and then again, it was I had another GoFundMe for the Suicide Prevention Foundation. Um, still do the like the mental health story from my past with each one, and it's not really like a this is how this is how to deal with it. It's more of a this is what I've been through, in the hopes that it resonates with someone. It helps someone realize that, like, oh, there's someone else that's going through this, or there's someone else that's been through this. I'm not as alone as I thought I was.
Mm.
Or even if, someone's listening to or reads it and, maybe isn't quite ready to like talk about it yet, but it just helps them have some confidence in themselves to realize that this doesn't this isn't like a this it doesn't make me weak, that this is they can use this as a source of strength.
Hmm.
um so yeah, so that's kind of the gist of it. It's helpful for me, like it gives me a lot of time to reflect too. I mean, it's anywhere from 6 to 9 hours on my bike every day for 7 days. Um and so it's, especially given what the challenge is for, it certainly gives me a lot of time to self-reflect. And so, um, talking about the, mental health struggles each day, um, brings up stuff. Some of it's not, I mean, not all of it's like happy stuff, but it brings up things from my past and helps me reflect. And I think it's helped me kind of grow and understand my own mental health a little bit better. Um, and help me learn, uh, how to understand, like, when I need to like manage what's going on. Like it helps me realize that, like, I can still struggle with it.
Right.
It's not like I'm not immune to my mental health struggles. So being able to reflect on myself and what the challenge means, to more than just me, because that's the thing. Like I see what I'm doing with it as something beyond myself. Like and it helps me get through it too, because it's real hard. Uh, each day is like pulling teeth just to finish. It's not easy. But yeah, I mean the fact that I feel like this is something bigger than myself. My goal is to like do this and ride to help other people find strength, their own strength.
Right.
Helps give me mine.
I appreciate you in your service and thank you for your service and I say that people were like, oh, that's you do that for veterans, yeah, first responders, but you do that for people who have of survivors of mental health, substance use, suicide, human trafficking, people that have survived, like you said, that have endured, that have persevered and built that resilience inside of them to now it's time to give back.
Right.
I appreciate you. Is there any when you do you do is this a once a year thing? Do you do any local or anything that you would put a group of cyclists together in the community for a day ride or a ride around the city? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually would like to. And like I've said before, like this has helped me like find uh, a passion within cycling. Like I use being a professional athlete as a platform for this, but this is extremely meaningful, and I want to find more ways to, whether it's like a community ride, once a month, or like
Mm-hmm.
fundraising, like ride, once a year, doing things like this. I'm trying to figure out how to do more. Um, the mental health challenges is just once a year, but it's gotten to a point now where like I realize that I do. There seems to be, which I'm really excited about, enough interest, and it's gotten more attention this year, which is so great, because again, it just, there needs to be more attention brought on it. So like, when you reached out to me to talk about, to do this podcast and be able to talk, um, that was exciting, because I want to do more stuff like this. So yeah, like getting together, a group, whether it's, a once a month or once a quarter or something, finding other things to do that aren't just limited to, the 1 week a year. And then like, just the things that I post. I mean, I post on mental health all through, obviously, like all through the year. Like mental health, I always say like mental health awareness month in this house is all year long.
Right.
um, so the bringing awareness to it and talking about it, even if it's not that 1 week, is always
Mm-hmm.
a very big part of um, just my kind of daily social media interactions.
Yeah, I think mental health, um, all of it, everything that comes under that umbrella. I think it's 365. It's just not, of course, May is mental health month, but mental health is 365.
Oh
It's
yeah,
all year round.
right.
Um, and if there's something that we can do all year round to make people, to boast people's confidence, to boost those people's confidence, to let them know that resources and tools, because everybody's recovery is different. And I say that to say my recovery looks different than yours.
Yeah,
And that's okay. It,
right.
but
Absolutely.
at the same time, you're still giving back. You're still serving your community to let people know that, hey, just because we look different, because we had different experiences and backgrounds and upbringings, we're still people.
Oh yeah,
And hurt is hurt, and joy is joy, and we experience all of it. And it's okay to talk about it. And,
absolutely.
and man, I there's so much um, content here, and there's so much more to get to. And I want you to come back. Um, 'Cause I want you to continue to share your story, and there's some more things I want to talk to you about that we didn't get to today.
Yeah,
But we got maybe about 5 minutes, and I really want to know. I always ask my people, my guests, give me a couple things that you're grateful for. And the reason I do this is because when I go out to H&Is, which is hospitals and institutions, to speak, It's a way for people to see the glass half full and not concentrate so much on what we don't have, because we're, as people, we do that a lot. I know I do. I focus on what I don't have a lot more than what I've been blessed with. And that's what the gratitude is for. It's the, man, I can hold on to these couple things, or more than a couple. I would just say a couple, in case that depression, that anxiety, that guilt, that shame, whatever that negativity is that triggers us,
Yep.
we can hold on to those things that are grateful for, so we can get to, okay, I need to call Lucas today. Oh, I need to call Derek. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's that first aid or that toolkit that gets people to hold on till they can pick up that phone, or they can call someone and be like, hey, I'm not feeling well. Can you just talk to me, sit with me, read, watch a movie, hold my hand, give me a hug? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That
yeah, yeah.
yes. So what are a couple things or a few things that you're grateful for, that you hold on to when those trials and tribulations, when those triggers hit?
Oh, uh, there's so many things. I mean, I'm thankful for my bike. I'm thankful for the community that it's provided. You know, friends and family, like you said, like having people that, if you're having a bad day, like, you have people that you can call, and they're gonna be there and not judge you, but have your back. So obviously that's a big thing. Um, I'm thankful for my cats. We have 6 cats, and they're always causing trouble and getting into stuff that keeps things fun. Um, I, I'm most thankful for my wife. We met uh, when I was in my early 30s, and that was right about the time that I was kind of starting to want to like finish finding myself. And I think she's given me a place where I can. One of the first times I have found a place to feel uh, safe outside of my bike.
Okay.
Like that's it, because we always have like we've been talking about like finding your safe place, finding like that place that allows you to like have that therapy that you need. Um, but it's always been my bike, and so like go to the bike. I would always it's bike. Um, but meeting her, having her in my life has kind of helped ground me and helped me realize that there's more to me than just being an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's as I'm getting to the twilight of my professional career, although it's absolutely terrifying to think about what I'll do once I'm not racing professionally anymore, because I've either always been trying to be pro or trying to be a better pro my entire life. Uh, but it helps me realize she has helped me realize that there is a version of me that exists without that,
Mm.
and that that's okay.
Yeah, I like that. That I love your list of your gratitude and what you have and what you're grateful for. I love that, especially where what your wife has contributed to your growth, in your mental health. I feel like that's fantastic, Lucas. We got to wrap up. Again, I want you to come back up here and be a recurring guest if you would like. But where can people find you?
Yeah, so the place that I guess I'm most active on is Instagram, and you can find me. It's Livermon 13, so LIV is in Victor, ERMON 13, or you can just type in Lucas Livermon, and it's probably a picture of me riding my bike. But yeah, so there I'm on Facebook. I think those are really the only.
That's fine.
I don't do like Twitter or anything.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to implement that more into when I'm doing this. I had to get on the Instagram and the Facebook and
Yeah,
all of the LinkedIn, and I'm trying to figure out the Twitter and the TikTok, but it'll come at some point. But I'm with you with that. But listen, brother, listen. I thank you for sharing your experience, strength. I hope your testimony. It was a pleasure and a joy. I was so
yeah.
honored for you to come up here, and
Thank
again, I would definitely love for you to come up here in the future.
Absolutely, anytime. And thank you for doing this. It's having people like yourself that are invested in helping and doing outreach and uh, wanting to share and helping other people share is priceless. So thank you.
If you need me, you got my number. I got your number.
Yep.
That's what community is about. That's what we do. We build off each other. We love on one another, and we continue to grow and give each other that hope, and we give it to others. So, listen, I love you, man. And until next time, I'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Thank you. All right.
Peace.
See ya.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is what we do here at Play the Tape. Another great episode. All my episodes are great. All my sisters and brothers in this community of mental health, suicide prevention, substance use, human trafficking, all these survivors. This is what we do. This is a platform for them, bare bones, raw, no filter. If no one has not told you today that they love you, I love you, we love you. God loves you. There are people out there like myself, like my guest Lucas today, that would jump in that pit with you because we know the way out. We're not perfect. We're not going to ever pretend that we are, but we're always in pursuit of recovery. We're always in pursuit of being of service. Listen, with understanding comes peace. With peace comes love. With love comes faith. And with faith comes hope. And with hope comes recovery. Again, I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Till next time. Peace.